Hey guys, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be showing you how to change a front wheel bearing on a Tesla Model Y or Model 3. We're going to need some basic hand tools. This is a little more than you're going to need, but you can do this with basic tools in your garage, in your driveway. So what we're going to get started with, this is just an example. You're going to need an impact gun or a breaker bar with a 21 millimeter socket to get the wheel off. You're going to need a 10 millimeter socket on a ratchet to get the rotor off. But to get the caliper, we're going to need either an inverted Torx 18 millimeter or a 14 millimeter boxed end wrench, an 18 mil to get the wheel bearing off, a ratchet, a 32 mil for the axle nut, and we're going to need either a hammer or an air hammer. I went air hammer, but a regular hammer will work, and a torque wrench to torque that axle nut when you're finished. All right, let's get started. Okay, first off, to get started here, we're going to have to take this cover off. There's little clips in the back. You push them together, push it out. Rotate the wheel, push the clips together. Get this cover out of the way. Be careful because these are easy to break. And you'll feel them. It's almost like a plastic clip. You just push them together on your fingers and they come right off. They sit in between here. Okay, so next up, we're going to grab our 21 millimeter on either an impact gun or a breaker bar. Take the wheel nuts off. And we're going to go ahead and remove the wheel. Okay, so now we got our brakes all exposed. We're going to want to turn the wheel so we have you can see the back of the caliper as far as you can. It's going to want to spring back. Now we're going to want to grab that 18 millimeter to get that brake caliper off. Okay, so now we're on the back side of the brake caliper here. What we're going to do is take these two caliper bolts off. One's right here with the green. The second one's down here. And these you can use an inverted Torx or a 14 millimeter boxed end wrench. Okay, we're going to get these backed off. Almost took the camera out. Okay, we're going to back these off. And little did most people know, on this Tesla Model Y, these are Brembo brakes. And these Model Ys are known for being hard on wheel bearings, mainly because of their weight. They're hard on wheel bearings and hard on tires. Okay, so we'll get these backed off. And I'm just working on the bottom bolt. Now the top bolt right here. Get that out of the way. Okay, now I'm going to grab a bungee cord and I'm going to tie that up. For now, I'm just going to sit this on top. Okay. Now I'm going to get this caliper all tied up out of the way. Usually wrap this around a bungee cord around here. I'm going to go to the pulls on here. Just to kind of hold it out of the way so it's not pulling on the line. You can use a coat hanger, you can use pretty much whatever you need to get that hung up out of the way. I'll get you a better look at that. So I'm just hanging that right there from the upper control arm with a bungee cord. Okay, so our next step, we're going to use a 10 millimeter on a ratchet right here, and we're going to pull this brake caliper off. Sorry, brake rotor off. Caliper we just took off. Okay, get that out of the way. Now we're going to want to go ahead and grab our impact gun or breaker bar and take off this axle nut socket, or this axle nut. That's the 32 millimeter. Now we got that out of the way, we're going to go to the back side and we got to take the 3 bolts off that hold that on. Okay, so we got that off here. That's the wheel bearing there. We're going to have to take these bolts off. Another thing I like to do is I like to get back here and I like to take the ABS sensor out. It's right there. There's the ABS sensor. You take this bolt out and just hang the sensor off the side just so we don't damage it. Taking that bolt out of there. And that's the ABS sensor. There. Pull that out so we don't do any damage when we take the hub assembly out. Hang this off to the side. And I like to give this a little tap with a piece of wood or something so you're not going to damage the threads here at all. Just to get sometimes the CV shaft sticks a little bit in the wheel bearing. So just give that a little tap back so it gives you room, and then we're going to go on the back side here. It's hard to get in, but right on the back side, inside here, is where you're going to use your 18 millimeter, and you're going to pull out these 3 bolts. 1, 2, 3. And that's the only thing that holds this wheel bearing assembly on this car. Now that we got these 3 bolts taken out, 1, 2, 3, you're going to want to tap on, it's easier to tap on the back side where there's this cutout in the dust shield here, the brake shield. Tap on this side, and then you're going to want to tap gently on this side with a hammer until you see a gap right on top here. And these come out fairly easy. I'm not going to do that on camera because it's going to be difficult to do and be very noisy. So I'm going to give this a little tap, and then I'll show you the gap that we're going to have right here. Okay, so I use like 3 or 4 taps with a hammer and see the gap that we have here. So this wheel bearing is just about ready to come off. So when it gets like that, get ready to catch it. It's going to slide off this spline. Now that the hub's out of the way, pull that out of there. This is what we're left with, this stub shaft here. And we're going to want to clean all of this debris up. Get everything nice and clean. Wipe that with a rag, some brake cleaner. Get all that stuff out of there. So the new hub is going to seat in there nice and tight. Okay, so we got that all cleaned up. I like to put a little bit of grease on the spline here. Just so that so you don't have to hit it. There's a little bit seized inside that hub, right in the spline. So I like to put just a little bit of grease. Any axle grease, or you don't want to put a ton because you don't want to make a big mess. Just a little bit to help it slide around. So here we have the new hub assembly. Just slide this on here. Make sure it's lined up. Now put those 3 bolts in, and you're going to want to tighten those up. You want them pretty tight. You don't want to go crazy with them, but you want them nice and snug so they're not going to back off on you. Okay, so we got that all tightened up. All 3 bolts are torqued down, and you can see here now the spline's nice and loose in the hub after putting a little bit of grease on it. Now we're going to put our center nut. This is your axle nut. And you're going to want to use your torque wrench. This is torqued to 130 foot-pounds. Get a bar or something in here so it doesn't spin. Got it to click. That's 130 foot-pounds. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to put the brake rotor on. When you get the brake rotor on, you're going to want to make sure that there is a spot here that you have to put that bolt. Make sure that's in the same spot. Get that lined up. And get that started. Okay, that's all tightened up. I'm going to wipe that ABS sensor. We're going to get that ABS sensor back installed. They can only go in one way. Okay, we're going to wipe this, make sure there's no debris on it. An ABS sensor is just plastic, so you don't want to go too crazy with that. Just snug so it's not going to back off. Okay, now we're going to go put that brake caliper back on. I've hook our bungee cord here. Make sure you take that off the car. This just slides into place here. You got your 2 bolts. And that again is your inverted torque or 14mm wrench. The box then. Now that all the brakes are all on and everything's tight, we're going to go ahead and throw the wheel on. And these lug nuts get torqued to 129 foot-pounds. So you're going to torque them to 129 foot-pounds, take it for a ride, and then re-torque it just to make sure that they didn't back off or it wasn't seated to the rim properly before you get those covers put on. And that is how you replace the front wheel bearing on a Tesla Model Y. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe and share.